Part 1, Requirement C. Discuss whether Bisney Enterprises Limited has control over Rafiki Limited. 14 marks, 1 mark in terms of communication skills. Right, now when we look at control, guys, you can refer to your revision page of IFRS 10. Remember, when we look at control, we need to determine, 1, if there is power, the ability to use the power to be exposed to variable return. Now, let's read through the scenario again. They indicate to us on 1 March 2019, Bisney Enterprises incorporated Rafiki Limited. Rafiki issued 100,000 ordinary shares at 100 Rand each. Bisney Enterprises acquired 30,000 of these shares. Rafiki issued 45,000 ordinary shares to the employees of any company within the Bisney Enterprises group. Therefore, when we look at this, we have Bisney Enterprises, which incorporated this entity, Rafiki, and then they acquired 30,000 of the shares, of which 45,000 was issued to employees of the entity. Important, guys, individuals, right? The rest of the shares were issued to designated individuals. Any employee or the designated individual could only subscribe to a maximum of 100 shares each. Now, this is important. They can only subscribe to 100 shares. Therefore, when you look at this, we have a total of 70,000 individuals owning 70% of the shares in Rafiki. But these individuals can only have a maximum of 100 shares. Therefore, 70,000 divided by 100, and this will be 700 individuals. Important, hey? Shares may only be sold after 5 years. Rafiki can be described as a broad-based BEE company. The purpose of Rafiki was to mainly facilitate BEE deals within the group and to hold investments in equity shares for the benefit of employees of the Bisney Enterprises group. Therefore, Rafiki was incorporated with strict legal arrangements to protect the main purpose of Rafiki. Therefore, guys, think about this. I have included on a new page. When you attempt each question, please remember you need to start off on a new page. Remember, we have now determined that Bisney Enterprises incorporated, therefore registered Rafiki, right? They purchased 30,000 of the shares. 45,000 allocated to individuals, employees of the Bisney Enterprises group, and 25,000 separate individuals, of which we have determined each can only have a maximum of 10. Therefore, we are looking at about plus minus 700 individuals owning these shares. But Rafiki has strict legal requirements to ensure that the main purpose, remember, they decided in advance, I'm talking about Bisney. Bisney Enterprises decided in advance, before they've registered Rafiki, what is the main purpose of Rafiki. And the main purpose of Rafiki is for BEE purposes, to ensure that they obtain their BEE credentials within the Bisney Enterprises group. Right, then they indicate to us each ordinary share would entitle the shareholders to 1 vote at the shareholders meeting of Rafiki. All decisions made at any meeting of Rafiki requires 51% of the votes to be in favor of the decision. When we look at this, in terms of our scenario, decisions will be made on a shareholders meeting, and they have to have 51% votes in terms of these decisions. Rafiki used the proceeds from the share issue to buy shares in other companies. Rafiki also bought 30,000 ordinary shares in Bisney Enterprises at 60 Rand each. This investment in Bisney Enterprises was classified at fair value through profit or loss, as the investment was purely made for speculative purposes. Therefore, in our scenario, we are able to identify that Rafiki also purchased shares within the Bisney group. Right, now we need to determine if there is control in the scenario. Therefore, remember, this is a theory question. You will have to first identify the theory, you need to apply the theory, and you need to conclude. Now, when you look at the solution, guys, you will identify in terms of the application, how they normally start with these questions is to indicate that Bisney Enterprises would, they have to, they should also look at this. And this is how they apply the theory: would, should, have to, identify, and so forth. Now, remember, when we look at control, our theory is that there has to be power. Remember, power is from rights. And important, these rights have to be current. Therefore, it has to have the current ability. And we normally look at substantive rights. There has to be the ability to use the power and exposure to variable returns. Remember, variable returns in terms of dividends, growth, and so forth. Therefore, when you start with your question, you need to indicate that Bisney Enterprises will control, let's call BE, remember, no abbreviations. Bisney Enterprises will have control over Rafiki if we are able to identify that there is power, that there is the ability to use the power, and the exposure to rights. The exposure or rights to variable returns. Okay, so now, guys, we need to dig into this. Number one, look at the left side of your screen. We need to identify if Bisney Enterprises has power. When you refer to your revision page, remember, power will be when there's existing rights that give the current ability to affect the relevant activities. Guys, these rights should give them voting rights. Remember, when you go back to basics, in terms of subsidiaries, there can be control, one, either when there's less than 50% or when there is more than 50%. Therefore, we now need to look at the less than 50% scenario. And this will normally be when there is a de facto agreement between entities, right? But now, let's dig deep into this. Right, on the left side of your screen, you will identify that I've included an additional sentence. Bisney Enterprises would, look at the words, have power if Bisney Enterprises have existing rights, now my tick mark, it's rights, that give current ability to direct the relevant activities. Now, guys, what is the relevant activities of Rafiki when we think about this? The relevant activities of Rafiki is BE purposes. Therefore, Rafiki is incorporated in terms of a specific, strict legal arrangements to ensure that this entity remains the entity to assist Bisney Enterprises in obtaining their BE credentials. Therefore, we need to indicate that there is strict legal arrangement to protect the main purpose. And that we know that Bisney Enterprises decided in advance in terms of the purpose of Rafiki. And this is the reason why they have incorporated the strict legal arrangements. Because when you look at the screen, when you look at only Rafiki, in terms of the relevant activities, decisions will be made at shareholders' meetings. Therefore, this is important. In terms of the relevant activities, decisions will be made on or at shareholders' meetings. Therefore, when you look at this, guys, how will power arise? How will power arise in this scenario? Power will arise based on the voting rights at the shareholders' meetings. They've indicated to us that 51% has to vote in terms of a specific decision. But when we look at the scenario, Bisney Enterprises only has 30%, the 30,000. Therefore, Bisney Enterprises currently only has voting rights of 30%. But, guys, remember, if they have less than majority, they can still control the entity, remember. Therefore, we need to look at the other shareholders, the size and the distribution. Right, now when we look at our other shareholders, remember, this will now be the 25,000 individuals and our 45,000 in terms of the Bisney Enterprises group, which we have already determined. We are looking at about plus minus 700 employees. Therefore, guys, we now need to write this down. I've transferred our discussion. Remember, you will have to write this out. We are looking at about 700 plus minus 700 individuals. Now, this 700 individuals, if they want to make a decision, they need to obtain 51% in terms of our shareholders meeting. Because when you look at the structure, let's just think about this. Number one, they are pretty widely spread. You don't know where they live. Therefore, they are widely spread. You see this? Number two, guys, they will have to work together to be able to achieve the 51%. Now, when we look at widely spread, how do we know that they will actually be able to attend the shareholders' meetings? Where do they live? And then you need to keep in mind that 51% of them will have to vote. And then the standard also indicates to us, guys, and this is in B45, it indicates to us that we need to look at prior years voting, the passive, the voting patterns, which we do not have at this stage because this is a new entity. Therefore, to be honest, when I work through this, I've only identified widely spread and that they will have to work together to be able to vote. And then B45 is in terms of prior year patterns. Therefore, when we look at this, guys, do you think that there is a possibility? Yes, but it's low. Therefore, when we look at the main purpose in terms of Bisney Enterprises, remember the orange guys at the top, this is part of your discussion. If we look at the main purpose of Rafiki, the main purpose to facilitate BE deals. Therefore, technically speaking, guys, when you look at this, Rafiki actually acts on behalf of Bisney Enterprises. You with me? Why? Because in Rafiki, we need to have the BE structure. But without the BE structure, Bisney Enterprises most probably won't be doing this good. Therefore, if they do not have the BE structure, Bisney Enterprises, technically, when we look at this, can manage, and I'm going to use this manage, just bear with me, Rafiki in terms of business purposes. Therefore, you'll identify, I have indicated here that the activities of Rafiki will be conducted on behalf of Bisney Enterprises. And again, guys, this may give Bisney Enterprises power over Rafiki. Important. Right, now when you look at this, another important thing to identify is that Rafiki has shares in Bisney Enterprises. Therefore, there's some kind of special relationship between these two. Do you see this, guys? And to be honest, we don't actually have the legal agreement. It would be great to read through this though, but we don't have this legal agreement. Therefore, we don't actually know in terms of the shares, the exact details from a BEE perspective. Right, therefore, there's a special relationship between Bisney Enterprises and Rafiki. But very important, guys, there's no formal contractual arrangement to provide. Let's just write this down. There's no formal contractual arrangement. Remember, in terms of our de facto control, we've indicated that there can be an arrangement, but there's no formal arrangement that gives Bisney Enterprises the power, the rights over Rafiki. Remember, guys, when you look at this, at the bottom, we have indicated that there has to be a separate agreement between the entities if there is less than 50%, and this is the factor, and then there can still be control. Right, now we need to take this one step further. When you look at the right side of our screen, we have now determined that there is power based on our discussion. Why? When you look at all of this that we have discussed now, guys, what is the possibility that our 700 individuals will actually attend the shareholders meetings, that they will stand together and vote 51%. If we look at this, definitely in terms of Bisney Enterprises, normally what happens, they select people to attend the shareholders meetings. Therefore, it's easier for them to attend the meetings. If we look at this, Bisney Enterprises incorporated Rafiki. They decided this in advance, the purpose and so forth. Therefore, they structured the legal agreement specifically. And we can conclude and say that yes, based on this, there is power. Next, the ability to use the power to be able to get exposure to rights and, exposure in terms of rights to variable returns. Guys, always, you need to discuss what is variable returns in a scenario. Now, in any entity, there will be dividends. Therefore, in terms of this, I just want to include here that we are now busy with 2 and 3. We're going to combine those, guys. In terms of the ability to use and exposure, we know that there is dividends and Bisney Enterprises will be able to receive the dividends. Important. What is the activities, the relevant activities of Rafiki? The relevant activities is to remain a BEE entity and to provide for the designated individuals. Right, therefore this entity most probably will declare dividends, and these dividends will be allocated to Bisney Enterprises. Therefore, based on the fact that Bisney Enterprises will be at the shareholders meetings, will be able to make decisions, will be able to receive variable returns, guys, we are able to identify that yes, they do have the ability to use the power. Yes, they will be able to receive variable returns. Then, guys, final conclusion, as always, based on the above, we will indicate that yes, there is control, and therefore they will have to consolidate Rafiki into the Bisney Enterprises group. Right, guys, in terms of BEE, always a hot topic, always very important, always important to look at what is the purpose of the entity and who makes the ultimate decisions.